Hi, there are three forms of a quadratic equation that you must be familiar with: the general form, the vertex form, and the factorized form. If you are ever told to find the equation of a quadratic function, these three forms are crucial for you to be able to find this equation. Let's take a look at what we are talking about. The general form of a quadratic equation looks like this: y equals to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are constants. Here's an example. What we see here is we have been given 3 points, 1, 2, 2, 3, and 3, 10. What we want to do is to utilize the general form, which is y equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. So for 1, 2, when y is 2, x is 1. So we have a, 1 squared, plus b, then plus c. If we simplify this further, this gives us 2 equals a plus b plus c. We're going to keep this as our first equation. For 2, 3, 3 will be equal to a, we substitute 2 plus b multiplied by 2, and then plus c. If we simplify this further, we get 3 to be equal to 4a plus 2b plus c. This gives us our second equation. Then for 3, 10, y is 10. We begin with that. A, 3 all squared plus b multiplied by 3, and then plus c. If we simplify that, we get 10 to be equal to 9a plus 3b plus c. And we take that as our equation 3. Now we have 3 equations that we have to solve simultaneously. So for the first 2 equations, we could pick 2 equals to a plus b plus c, and pick 3 equals 4a plus 2b plus c. And what we will do is to eliminate c out of these 2 equations. And we do that by subtracting one equation from the other. Let's subtract the first equation here from this second one, which means we'll have 2 minus 3 here, a minus 4a here, then we have plus b minus 2b, then plus c minus c. You could, of course, have done this minus the first one, if that seemed easier to do. 2 minus 3 gives us minus 1. A minus 4a gives us negative 3a. B minus 2b gives us negative b. And c minus c gives us 0. I'd like to list this as, say, equation 4. Next, I am going to choose the first equation here and the third one. If you like, you could also utilize the second equation and the third one. The first equation is 2 equals to a plus b plus c, and the third one is 10 equals 9a plus 3b plus c. Again, I would like to subtract the second equation from the first one, so that I have 2 minus 10 equals a minus 9a plus b minus 3b plus c minus c. 2 minus 10 gives me minus 8. A minus 9a gives me negative 8a. B minus 3b gives me negative 2b. C minus c gives me 0. I like to list this as equation 5. Now, if you notice, we now have equation 4 minus 1 equals negative 3a, negative b, and equation 5, which is negative 8 equals negative 8a, negative 2b. And what I want to do is to solve these 2, equation 4 and 5, simultaneously. I'll do that by multiplying equation 4 by 2. Because I can see that this has a negative 2b. If I multiply equation 4 by 2, I will get negative 2 equals negative 6a, negative 2b. I'm going to name this equation 6. And what I will do is to then solve equations 5 and 6 simultaneously. I'm going to do the same I've done before, which is to subtract equation 6 from equation 5. So I have negative 8 minus negative 2 equals negative 8a minus 6a, then plus negative 2b minus 2b. If I do that, this becomes negative 8 plus 2 equals to negative 8a plus 6a, then plus 0, which means this gives me negative 6 equals negative 2a. And if I divide both sides by negative 2, I get a to be 3. I immediately input that into equation either 5 or 6. I'm choosing to use 6 so that I would be able to find b immediately, which means from equation 6, I have negative 2 equals negative 6a, negative 2b. And since a is 3, I then have negative 2 equals negative 6 times 3 minus 2b. On further simplification, I have negative 18 here minus 2b, which means 16 will be equal to negative 2b. And if I divide both sides by negative 2, I have b to be equals to negative 8. Now I am left with finding the value of a. And the easiest to use is the first equation. 2 equals to a plus b plus c. So 2 equals 3 minus 8 plus c. 2 equals to negative 5 plus c. On simplifying that, I have 7 equals to c, which means that a equals to 3, b equals negative 8, and c equals 7. Our quadratic equation then becomes y equals 3x squared minus 8x plus 7. Sometimes you are given the vertex, which is either the highest point or your maximum, or the minimum of your graph, and one extra point. If this is what you are given, you need the vertex form of your quadratic equation to help you find the equation of the graph. Here's an example. This says find the equation of the quadratic function whose vertexes are 3, 4 and passes through the point 5, 8. When the vertex is talked about, remember the vertex form of a quadratic equation. The vertex form is y equal to a into x minus h all squared plus k, where hk is the vertex. Now what we need to do now is to input 5, 8 as our x and y, because that's our random point, but it's not so random because this particular curve passes through that point, and also input 3, 4 as our vertex h and k. So here's how that works. For x and y, we put 5 and 8. So for y is 8, so we have to put 8 first, because that's what y is, a into x minus, and then because x is 5, we put 5 here, so 5 minus h all squared plus k. Next, we will input h and k, so 8 equals a into 5 minus h is 3, so that will be 3 all squared. Then k is 4, as you can see there, so k will be 4. And next, we just simplify what we have. 8 will then be equal to a into 2 squared plus 4. We know that 2 squared is 4, so this gives us 8 equal to 4a plus 4. On simplification, we get a to be equal to 1. Now what we just need to do is to input the values back into the vertex form and then simplify, because now we have y equals to a, which is 1, into x minus h. If you remember what h is 3, and then k is 4. So this is 3 all squared, then plus 4. All we need to do now is to expand this equation. So we have y to be equal to x minus 3 whole squared, which gives us x squared minus 6x plus 9 plus 4. And this equation eventually gives us y equals to x squared minus 6x plus 13, which is our required equation. If you are interested in learning the vertex form, especially how to write your quadratic equation in that form, I'll link the video up now. It's really interesting, and I think it will be good if you learn it. Also, if you wanted to know why the vertex form is really important, because there are other uses for it, and if you wanted to learn some of those uses, here's a video that I'll link up right now. You should go ahead and check it out. When you are given the roots, otherwise called the x-intercepts, and one other point. Now this other point could be the vertex, it could be the y value of the vertex. Any of those, if you are given the roots and one other point, then you should use the factorized form of a quadratic equation to help you to find the quadratic equation. Here's what I mean. Here's an example. Find the quadratic equation whose roots are 2 and 6, and the y value of the vertex is k, and that's equal to -4. And when you're given this type of equation, the form of a quadratic equation that comes to mind is y equals to a x minus r1, where r1 is the first root, and x minus r2, where r2 is the second root. The problem with this is we do not have the value for x, while we have the value for y, which is -4. We're obviously looking for a. We do not have the value of x. We have the first root to be 2, and we have the second root to be 6. Now, to utilize this, we must find the value of x. Now, we know that the x value of the maximum or the minimum or the vertex is always found by adding the two roots and dividing it by 2. Because if this were a graph, this here and this were the two roots, r1 and the second r2, the very point here is in the middle of the two roots. Which means to find the x value here, what we need to do is to pick the first root, add it to the second root, and divide by 2. So in this case, the x value of the vertex is found by picking 2, adding it to 6, and dividing it by 2. And if we do this, this should give us 8 divided by 2, which is equal to 4. So we know that the vertex is 4, minus 4. With this, we can find the value of a. So what we have will be -4 equal to a. Now instead of this x, we then put in 4. So we have 4 minus 2. And instead of this x, we put in 4 minus 6. So this gives us -4 equal to a multiplied by 2. And then that also multiplied by -2. This gives us -4 equals to -4a. And that gives us that a equal to 1. Hence, we have the factorized form of our quadratic equation to be y equal to 1 into x minus the first root, which is 2, and x minus the second root, which is 6. And if we expand this, we get x squared minus 8x plus 12. And this is the required equation. If you want to learn how to sketch a quadratic equation, I'll have the link up right now. You can go ahead and take a look. This is where I'm going to stop this video. If it's been useful to you, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I hope to see you in the next one.